Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So we are in week 4 of our 9-part series with our GP training, our certifying medical professionals in Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for joining us. Michelle will take a couple of minutes to talk about the Apothecarium, and then we will turn it over to Eric, who is from Holistic Farms Liberty. So Michelle.
Thank you, Framar. Hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Michelle, and I'm the Director of Physician and Network Engagement at the Apothecarium. Thanks for joining us. The Apothecarium was founded in 2011 in San Francisco by a gentleman named Ryan Hudson. And Ryan's vision was to build a dispensary where people could be proud to bring their mom and dad. The goal of the Apothecarium is to put first-time visitors at ease with a beautiful atmosphere and a friendly and knowledgeable staff. The Apothecarium came to the East Coast in 2020. We have 3 locations in Pennsylvania, one in Thorndale, one in Plymouth Meeting, and one in Lancaster. We also have a location in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, and we're opening 2 additional locations in New Jersey in the coming months. The Apothecarium is a full-service, award-winning medical marijuana dispensary who prides itself on providing quality medical marijuana products in a warm and welcoming environment with empathy, education, and ongoing support. What makes us different from some of our competitors is that we're vertically integrated, we're very medically focused, and we're also patient and physician focused. Our outreach and education team really pride ourselves on offering educational programs to our patients and to our physicians, hence the reason why we're hosting this event tonight. So with that said, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Eric Miller, who is our representative from Holistic Industries, to tell you more about their organization and their products. So thank you so much. I'll stop sharing, Eric, and then you will be free to share.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Give me just a moment to get my screen up here. We're gonna go with that. Sure. There we go. Oh, are you seeing my presenter screen? There we go.
Yes, we are. Yeah, usually if you just do a slideshow from beginning, it will usually work. Oh, it says use presenter view, but I guess you need that, right, for your presentation?
No.
We'll try it again. Just try from beginning.
There we go.
See what happens.
Are we good now?
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good.
Okay, so yes, again, welcome. So I am with Holistic Industries, and Holistic Industries is the parent company. Here in Pennsylvania, our manufacturing facility is licensed under Holistic Farms, but the product that we offer in the state right now are Liberty cannabis products. And I am the Pennsylvania sales manager for Holistic Industries. I've been with the company for close to a year now, coming up in June. This is my my 3rd company here. I've experimented in different roles in other places. So I do have a nice background. I worked in the lab for a year, also got hands-on in some cultivation, harvesting, trimming, anything in the manufacturing side, and I've done it at least for a day. So a quick background on Holistic Industries and some highlights of the company. So it was founded in Maryland by our current CEO founder, Josh Genderson, in 2011. He's actually a third generation business owner. You know, from his family, they have a company down there. So he does have experience running, you know, a company before. And he, you know, has had a long time interest in cannabis. He also is into the Grateful Dead. He's into wine. So a very in touch CEO for the industry, and very cool and likable. We're a very fast growing privately held MSO. We are also vertically integrated, I think, in every state that we operate in, certainly here in Pennsylvania, which means that we grow the cannabis plants, We do all of the extraction and formulating of products, and then we ship those out via wholesale, and also we have our own retail locations, also under the name of Liberty. One of the really nice things about Holistic Industry is all of our licenses were won through an application writing process. We won our licenses. We didn't have to, I think we might have one acquisition in Michigan, but everywhere else, we won it through the integrity and, the brains of our applicant writers and those leaders heading our company. Although we haven't seen this here, we do have a greenhouse of brands, including Liberty, Strain, Dewdrops, Garcia's Handpicked, and Canasutica. So with the way that Pennsylvania has structured its program and kind of what we can do with branding and whatnot, a lot of these brands are more adult use targeted. So for the most part, we've only seen Liberty, and we will see Strain emerge in the coming months. Dewdrops is an edible brand. We have low dose gummies and chocolates. Garcia's Handpicked is a brand in alignment with the Garcia family. And Canasutica is a much more medical approach to capsules and possibly tincture. But again, I don't really get a lot of exposure to these, so I don't have a lot of details at the moment. We also have a Liberty Cannabis Cares program, making sure that we give back to the communities that have allowed us to establish and grow. One of the examples I have off the top of my head is donating thousands of gallons of hand sanitizer in Maryland at the initial outbreak and through the first couple of months of COVID. We are growing that Liberty Cannabis Cares program, so you should see more news and highlights coming out of that department. And our, I guess our motto is we strive to be the best place to work, shop, and invest. And, I can definitely vouch for one of those with the best place to work. Our shopping is pleasant as well. Haven't had the opportunity to invest yet because we are a private company. Feel free to check out our website, holisticindustries.com, to learn more about us. I've linked here our about page, but there is so much more information on why this is such an amazing up and coming company. All right, so let's hop into product. So with our greenhouse of brands, you've probably already identified that generally our company has been more adult use focused in the product lines, but we'll go through each one. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about are PAX pods. So some of you might be familiar with vaporizer cartridges, and these are very similar, but they are what they call a proprietary pod delivery device. So basically, it still goes into the battery that you kind of see pictured at the top right here. It looks a lot like a Juul device. It's about 3.5 inches. It fits in your palm. And it's very simple to operate. There's not any buttons or knobs or dials that you have to use. You insert the device in the top, and there's 4 heat settings that you can easily change. And it produces vapor for the patient when they need that instant therapeutic relief. A lot of patients say that pods last longer. We do have distillate and live resin versions of this. So anybody who might not be completely familiar, a distillate is a highly purified cannabis oil, where a live resin is done through a process that you flash freeze the plant and extract the components out of it like that. So it's supposed to kind of be like a representation of the live plant. Obviously without the additional purification and distilling processes, you have a lot more of the plant compounds in there. What I like to say about different forms, um, different people prefer different things, and different types of oils work better for some people. So when people ask me what's my preference or what do I recommend, it depends. The one unfortunate thing about cannabis is that it's a trial and error thing, until you kind of figure out what works for you and what you like. Um, while some people view that as a journey and enjoy the journey. So again, it's really easy to use, and there is a nice little app that goes along with it, which I will pull up in just a moment. Okay, so if you have an Android phone, you can download the app right to your phone. Right now, Apple is blocking all vape apps, but you can use the online app at web-app.pax.com. The thing that I really want to highlight about this is the temperature control. Because with some of the vaporizers that have the preset temperatures or the dials, um, you can't be certain that turning your battery to 3.2 volts will produce, this temperature. So here you can dial it in real nice. I always tell patients, start at the lowest possible temperature and kind of work your way up, every 5, 10, 15, 20 degrees until you find your sweet spot. And again, that's great because sometimes, especially newer patients, they'll take a vaporizer pen and they'll take a big old puff on it, and they're not realizing how much they're actually taking in. And before you know it, they are, coughing or struggling with the dose of medicine that they got. Which leads me into the next awesome feature is they have this dose feature. Now, it's not as advanced as having, if you click one dose, that's going to be a 5 milligram puff. But what it does is it uses a combination of the temperature that's set and the draw strength to determine what that dose is. And when you take the dose, the device will automatically turn off. So again, it eliminates that overdrawing. And for patients that need different levels of dosing, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, which I personally have never needed to use more than one, but I do know some patients who, have gotten into the 2 and 3 range. Okay, there's other cool features with this, such as seeing test results and looking at the different strains and all that. But for the purposes of this presentation, I think those two features are what really sets it apart. Okay, going into our more medically focused products, we also offer capsules and tinctures. Both of these have a lot of very similar features. In the capsules, we offer this in a distillate variety and RSO. RSO is for Rick Simpson oil, which is basically a methodology of extracting the cannabis oil from the plant. Again, the distillate is a very highly purified extraction process where you take a raw oil out of the plant and then you purify it a little bit and then you run it through a short path or other distillation system and you come out with a very pure oil. Potencies, 85, 90, 95%. RSO is a much more aggressive extraction technique where the plant material is soaked in a solvent, usually high proof ethanol. Think like an Everclear, a 190, 200 proof ethanol. And that very quickly strips almost every compound out of the plant into the oil. So you distill off the alcohol and you're left with this very concentrated, people usually refer to as full spectrum or broad spectrum oil. Again, some patients swear by the RSO and the entourage effect, all of those plant compounds working together, while others say, the distillate is, more effective for them. So again, it's a trial type of thing. We offer our capsules in 4 different dosing options right now. We have from 2.5 milligrams all the way up to 25 milligrams. And one of the really nice things about having all these different options is the ability to stack them. For example, I will recommend to patient care consultants that the first time that somebody purchases capsules, they might want to purchase the 2.5 and the 5 milligram varieties. Night 1, 2, 3, maybe try the 2.5s. If it's not enough, then you can try a 5. If that's still not quite enough, you can try a 5 milligram and a 2.5 milligram, which happens to be my wife's sweet spot of a dose. She's a patient as well. Again, there's all kinds of different combinations. And of course, you could just take 5 milligram capsules if you need a 25 milligram dose, but nobody really wants to be taking that many capsules. And you'll be either buying more bottles per trip to the dispensary, or you'll be visiting more often. And generally, there's a price reduction the higher milligram you go. For example, off the top of my head, I believe a 5 milligram is 20 cents per milligram, where a 25 milligram capsule comes in at 12 cents per milligram. So you get some savings working up the dosing there. We have offered these in THC 1:1 and 2:1 CBD varieties. So we do use the alphabetical order of listing our cannabinoids. So CBD will be first and THC will be second. So the 2:1 is CBD dominant, 1:1 is one part of each, and the THC is THC only. Capsules are definitely the most convenient way to take RSO for the patients that prefer that type of oil, because typically RSO or traditionally has come in some sort of syringe, be it a plastic syringe or a glass syringe. And I'm talking like a blunt tip syringe, not the pokey kind. And there's several issues with these syringes. First of all, RSO is a very viscous, a thick oil. So a lot of times it'll kind of get stuck in the syringe and you have to heat it up via, body heat, holding it in your hand or running it under warm water or giving it a quick blast with a hair dryer. I've had reports of patients cutting their hand on broken glass syringes. And it's very hard to dose because you have to squeeze out the amount that you want to use. So in our capsules, the RSO is perfectly dosed out to, the 2.5, 5, 10, and 25 milligram options. Another highlight, even though our capsules and tinctures are what I call simple products, they're made that way for a reason, because it helps limit potential allergens and interactions. So they are made only with medium chain triglyceride oil, MCT oil, and cannabis oil. And just a heads up, our MCT oil is partially fractionated from coconut oil. So if a patient has a coconut allergy, that may be something that you want to look into. And actually, Franmar, I'm going to ask you to comment on that after I'm done with my presentation here. Okay, so we also have tincture. Now, this is in, again, the traditional kind of tincture that is, a medicine dissolved in an ethanolic solvent. It is made with MCT oil, so it is more of an oral solution. Right now, and for the history of my time here, we've only offered this in a 1:1 formulation. There are, from my market research, there are pretty many tinctures on the market, different ratios, different styles. So I don't think this is something that we'll really expand on, but this product has, gotten pretty good reception overall. So it's about 250 total milligrams in the bottle. So that would be 125 milligrams THC, 125 milligrams CBD. I don't have a picture of it here, but our dropper is marked at the 1/4 mil, 1/2 mil, 3/4, and full mil dosings. We have a competitively priced product, in my opinion. And another thing that's interesting about these, so we do label these as being strain specific. So for example, on the market right now, we have the sage and sour tincture. And this is something that, I really, when I present on it and I give information, I try to have people keep an open mind about what that really means. Because if you were to look at the lab results of one of our tinctures, the terpene content is extremely low. I mean, we're talking like 0.02% or 0.01%, 0.03% of the overall formulation. And I think the usual consensus that I get is that when we're talking about strains, um, what really creates a strain is the terpene profile. If you have this amount of linalool and this amount of terpinolene and this amount of linolene, that's typically, let's say that's a gumball sativa or something like that. So although these are strain specific, I don't rely too heavily on that. Now, with that being said, we have had patients report back that they got the effects that they would have expected out of that strain. So whether that's placebo or whether something's happening there, my personal jury is out on that. But at the end of the day, if something works for a patient, then good. Means it's efficacious. Again, this is made only with MCT and cannabis oil. The one big difference between our tincture and our capsules is the RSO aspect. Um, Out of personal experience, I have tried to make a tincture with RSO before, and it doesn't go into solution very well, and it also tastes pretty nasty because you get a lot of chlorophyll in the RSO that's pulled from the plant material. That just doesn't taste good. So this is made with distillate oil, which is almost taste-free or tasteless. Now, this is a product that I put on here just for kind of like a talking sake, because I think this is something that we may kind of step away from or really not produce anymore or not for a little while, but that is Delta 8. It's been all over the news lately because CBD retailers are selling it, and more and more folks are starting to carry this. What the legality of that is, I don't know. I don't think anybody like really knows. It's a gray area. Um, but the main concept of it is it's supposed to be a less intoxicating cannabinoid than Delta 9 itself. So it's kind of like, I hate comparing to alcohol, but maybe like a light beer. And also from the research that I've done about Delta 8 is it has to be vaporized to have those less intoxicating effects. If it's eaten in a capsule or any sort of edible, um, your liver converts it to the 11-hydroxy compound, similar to if you were to eat Delta 9, uh, the Delta 9 cannabinoid or THC. Your liver converts it into the same compound at that point. So I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I know there's a lot of patient concern about supply in the markets. We have recently doubled our canopy space, so that allows us to grow more plants, to make more products, and have more consistency in our product offerings. We also went back and upgraded some parts of our facility to make sure that everything is clean and up to date and technologically advanced as possible. And like I said, we are going to be releasing a new brand here in PA, but I don't think that's really pertinent for the conversation tonight. If you're interested, you can check out Strain. It's spelled STRANE, or thisisstrain.com. We have launched it in Maryland and Massachusetts, so it will be coming here soon. And that was all I had for you out of my presentation. I'm hoping that we've had some questions come through, and maybe Franmar and myself can initiate some further conversation.
So Eric, what question did you want me to answer? Or comment on?
The MCT question, I've heard varying viewpoints on this, with the belief that the way that the coconut oil is processed, that the allergenic properties of that coconut oil don't translate into the final MCT oil product. While others have said, if you have a coconut allergy, don't go near it.
That's kind of my take on it. So if you have, we'd rather just not risk having some sort of allergic reaction. With some patients, that allergic reaction might be mild. For others, it might be, extreme and severe. So usually kind of the rule of thumb is, can you take coconut oil? So it's not only just a nut allergy, but it's, more specific to coconut oil. And then we would just defer not to use that. For me as a pharmacist, that's kind of the struggle with those patients that do have a coconut allergy, because there's not very many options left on the market that they don't contain coconut oil. I think most, do some of the capsules that you have a little bit of coconut oil in with the RSO or the distillate?
It's
just
the MCT oil, yeah.
So then, that's an option. And a lot of other GPs where they have capsules, that's the option there too. The majority of the tinctures that are out on the market are MCT oil based. So we kind of get little limited as when it comes to pharmacists, if somebody doesn't want to inhale, what options do we have left? So sometimes that can be a little bit challenging.
Yeah, that's, I'll make a note of that. Not promising anything, but that is an interesting take. And I know that, like you said, certain product availability has kind of decreased.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're aware of the products that are available, right?
Yeah, so there's actually currently 3. Alera has Hope 1 and Hope 2, which is an organic olive oil base. And then Hanging Gardens, which is another grower processor in the state, makes a tincture with a glycerin base. So those are the only 3 options tincture wise as of right now that do not have that MCT oil base. So, it would be nice if we had something other than 3.
Does Standard Farms, do they use MCT or do they use olive oil?
I believe they use MCT. I know at the Apothecarium we don't carry that, but when I worked for a previous dispensary, we did, and I believe it's MCT.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think their capsules might be olive oil though. But anyway.
Thank you so much, Eric. We actually have a few physicians on the line. So physicians, if you have any questions about Holistic or any of their products or anything that Eric talked about, you can utilize the chat or the Q&A. And I know Franmar, I'm not sure if you had any other questions for Eric.
I actually do. So we'll stay on the tincture topic. Back in the beginning of the program, and I'm not sure because it doesn't tell us what physicians are on. So I don't know with some of the physicians that were on, if they were doing certifications back in the early days, which is, just 2018. But that's the early days of this program. And Holistic had a tincture on the market that was actually alcohol based. So I'm guessing, I haven't seen it in eons at this point. What happened? Is that something that's still going to be considered? Where to go?
Yeah, so I think this was discontinued even in 2019. So I wasn't with the company throughout the duration of that product, but I have gotten a little information, and also with some of my personal experience, I can help fill in some gaps. So the original tincture that was alcohol based, a true tincture, had several issues with it. First of all, we were experiencing some evaporation out of the tincture bottle. because a high proof ethanol, if there's the slightest crack or seal, if there's any breathing in the container whatsoever, it's going to start to escape. So that was a huge issue. Patients were getting bottles that, were a half full, a quarter full, or even completely dried up, except for the oil resin that was left behind. So that was a big issue, obviously. And then another issue is, I'm not sure, how many people have tried actually inserting alcohol straight under your tongue. But think about a high proof liquor. If you're consuming, a vodka or a bourbon or anything like that, um, anything above 40%, and even, some things above 30%, it burns going down. So when you put that on that delicate tissue right underneath your tongue, it burns. And if a patient is really adamant about getting that very quick onset from the sublingual absorption, and they can kind of what I call build a callus. I've heard patients report that if they use the alcohol tincture for enough time, that it almost forms a callus and it doesn't burn as bad, but they still get all of those medicinal and therapeutic effects out of it. And that's something that I think requires a ton of education. And I don't think, the patient base was there. I don't know if it is there yet or if it will be there at some point. Um, as great as the fast onset is in a non combustible or vaporizable delivery method, it's still a painful one, and usually unpleasant at first.
Okay. And then with your expansion, are you going to start growing more strains? Are we going to start seeing some of, I'm not sure, I know salmon, what was it, Salmon OG was always a great indica that sold really well, that we had a lot of success with patients. Are some of these, original strains that you've had from the beginning going to be coming back? Are you looking into, utilizing new strains that you maybe, had stored away? What's kind of the story with that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I believe we lost a lot of our older genetics, through a different series of things. Some of them being, the rough summer conditions that we get here in Pennsylvania. And, I touched on kind of going back and renovating parts of our facility that maybe weren't built out as well in the beginning to handle those conditions. So we did lose quite a few genetics in that process, with mothers getting old or just getting sick, not being able to handle those conditions. Um, and for those who aren't overly familiar, Pennsylvania had a regulation, or has a regulation, that the ability to bring new genetics into the state, you get a 30-day window when you first start. It's kind of like an immaculate conception type of window, where you can bring whatever you want into the state, but then after that period closes, you're stuck to what has come into the state. Now, companies can trade genetics amongst each other and whatnot, but a lot of people are fond of their genetics, and may not necessarily want to share. So we ran through a lot of our old seed stock. But we did have a very large collection of seeds that we had brought in initially. Um, I don't want to overestimate, but I want to say that we probably still have at least 60 different new genetic varieties that we'll see come to the market over the next few months, the next few years. Hopefully, if Pennsylvania changes that regulation, we won't be so constrained in that sense. We are going to be seeing a lot of the same two strains over the next 2 to 3 months. But by, I think, the end of July, we'll start to see that strain variety blossom.
Okay. And then I'm guessing with your expansion, the amount of flour and products is going to obviously increase because you're going to have that additional material to use to produce, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were harvesting one room on anywhere from like a 4 to 8 week cycle even sometimes. Um, right now, I believe this week we started, and every week we're harvesting a room, and we have the grow cycle and the different rooms set up, so that'll stay maintainable or sustainable.
Okay. Do any of the physicians on the presentation tonight, do any of you have any questions for Eric?
Yeah, and in case anybody missed the introduction, I've actually been in the industry a few years now in a couple different roles. So I do also have extraction lab experience and some cultivation experience. Um, yeah, I'm by no means an expert in either of those areas, but if you had any questions on extraction techniques or different types of oils or cultivation techniques or anything like that, I can give it my best shot to answer those questions as well.
Just give a minute, see if anybody has anything that they're typing in.
Yeah, everybody's definitely being quiet tonight.
I monopolized all the Q&A.
And that's
Well,
okay.
hey, if anybody has questions at any time, please feel free to forward them my way.
Yeah, definitely. Since this is the 4th week, we've definitely had some physicians reach out asking for the contact information for the people who have given the presentation. So I'd be happy to do that. And I don't see any other questions coming through. So please know that this session is being recorded. If there's something you missed, we will be posting it to our website probably within the next week or so, and you guys will certainly get an alert on where you can find that on our YouTube page. So we appreciate you, Franmar. We appreciate you, Eric. Thank you, physicians, for taking time out of your busy evenings to join us, and we will see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for attending.